Before the sun rises, before even the faintest bruise of dawn touches the sky, you wake into a darkness so complete it feels alive. A heaviness that presses against your eyelids and steals the warmth from your bones. And for a moment, just a heartbeat, you lie still on the flattened rushes that serve as your bed, feeling their damp chill seep through your threadbare shift, breathing in the scent of yesterday's smoke and grease that clings to everything in this kitchen you call home. You have 3 seconds to exist in this fragile stillness. 3 seconds before duty clamps its hands around your shoulders and drags you upright. 3 seconds before the echo of Mistress Holbrook's boots and her sharp cordless pole, unforgiving tongue, slice through the quiet and demand to know why the fire is not yet lit. You push yourself up, joints stiff, arms trembling with the memory of yesterday's labor, and for an instant you wonder if your body might simply refuse to move, might crumble here on the floor where you have slept since you were brought to Thornbury Hall 3 years ago, with nothing but your father's warning to be grateful still ringing in your ears. You don't remember your exact age, 14 or 15 perhaps, though the years blur when counted only by chores and punishments. But you remember the day your father placed your small hand into the steward's and walked away, his back already bent beneath a life of toil, his parting words more command than comfort. Now, in this breathless dark, at 4 o'clock, you know gratitude has no meaning here. Only survival does. You rise because you must, because the fire will not coax itself back to life, because water will not haul itself from the courtyard well, because the lowest servant must always be first to labor and last to rest. You shuffle through the blackness by memory alone, hands outstretched until your fingers brush the cold stone rim of the hearth where last night's embers sleep like dying stars. Kneeling, you blow gently, carefully, your breath trembling as you whisper life into the coals, knowing that if the flame fails, if you must strike flint and steel in the dark, the cook's hand will find your cheek before the sun does. The ember glows, a faint reddish blink, then another, until the fire finally catches with a soft crackle that illuminates the massive kitchen in flickers. Copper pots glinting dully on their hooks, long wooden tables scarred with decades of knife marks, shadows shifting where the fowl will later hang, waiting for your raw fingers to pluck them bare. This kitchen is your cage and your refuge all at once, a place that has blistered your hands, chafed your skin, and hollowed out your childhood, yet the only place in the world where you know the rhythm of survival. But now comes the worst part of the morning, the task that chills you more than the November air awaiting you outside. Water hauling. The buckets sit by the door like silent judges, light as air when empty, but soon to become weights that drag at your shoulders and cut into your palms. You push the heavy kitchen door open and step into the courtyard, where the cold hits you like a slap, sharp, merciless, seeping through your thin woolen clothes as though determined to find and freeze your very bones. The stars above glitter with icy indifference, watching as you cross the slick stones toward the well that stands like a dark mouth in the earth. You lower the bucket, listening to the rope rasp against the wooden frame, listening for the splash that means the first of many burdens has begun. The water is frigid as you haul it up, sloshing against your skirts, soaking the fabric until the cold climbs your legs in numbing waves. And as you stagger back to the kitchen, you already know this is only trip one of many. 6, 7, perhaps 8 before the cook arrives. You walk those 200 paces again and again, your breath puffing into the air in ghostly clouds, your fingers stiffening around the wooden handles, your shoulders shaking beneath the weight. By the time the great copper vessels are filled enough for the morning's work, your arms tremble uncontrollably, and the eastern sky shows not the slightest hint of light. The kitchen door creaks open behind you, and Mistress Holbrook enters, her presence carving the air like an axe. She inspects your work with those sharp, hawk-like eyes that see everything. The water droplets on the stone floor, the ashes you missed brushing aside, the unevenness of the rekindled flame. She grunts once, a sound that is neither praise nor kindness, but simply acknowledgement that you have avoided her wrath for now. As the other servants begin filtering in, the baker's boy yawning, the pot boys stumbling sleepily, the cook's assistants fastening their aprons, you feel the old familiar mix of envy and resignation twist in your chest. They slept until 5. 5. Luxury so unimaginable that you cannot help but marvel at it. You have no time to dwell on such thoughts, for the day stretches out before you like a road paved with labor, scrubbing pots until your knuckles split, plucking fowl until fine feathers clog your throat, turning the spit before the roaring fire until your skin tightens and your eyes water. This early hour, this cold darkness, is only the beginning, the first harsh breath of a day that will end only when the final ember is banked and your 18 body collapses once more onto the same rushes from which it rose. You stand there in the half-light, the first hints of dawn barely touching the rim of the sky, and you breathe in the scent of smoke and vinegar and cold iron, and you brace yourself, because the world you inhabit demands nothing less. The copper pots are your burden, your punishment, your defining labor. And as you kneel before the largest of them, the coarse sand in your palm biting into your skin and the vinegar stinging every fresh cut and crack, you know that for the next hours your body will be nothing but hands and arms, knees and back, a machine honed to the endless rhythm of scrubbing, until the metal gleams with a brightness that almost seems unnatural in the dim kitchen light. You begin with the largest vessel, a pot so immense that it could hold a child, and you circle it over and over, your muscles screaming, your fingers raw and bleeding, the coarse grit scraping against the copper with a relentless insistence. Each rotation, each press of your hands is measured and deliberate, learned from repetition and necessity. Because to pause even for a heartbeat, is to invite the wrath of Mistress Holbrook, whose small, sharp eyes pierce through the smoke and shadow, noting every imperfection as if it were a crime against the household itself. You press harder, grit biting deeper, vinegar fuming into your nostrils, the tang of metal and acid mixing with the omnipresent scent of smoke, of the past night's cooking, of the accumulated labor of those who came before you. And you scrub until your shoulders feel as though they might snap, until your back aches in a way that makes your knees tremble beneath you. And still you persist, because the pot must shine. Because to fail here is to fail in the only thing you are permitted to control. The hours stretch, slow and relentless, and as the sun creeps over the horizon, weakly lighting the edges of the kitchen, you rise only to shift to the next vessel, slightly smaller, slightly less demanding, yet no less exhausting. The copper is relentless, a constant reminder of your position, of the endless cycle of labor, of the way the household depends on your hands, yet will never grant you recognition. Around you, the kitchen begins to stir fully. Assistants take their places, moving with practiced efficiency, the baker tending to ovens that roar like beasts, the potboys carrying ingredients heavy with morning's harvest. But you are fixed in your place, bound to your vessels, bound to the sand and vinegar and the unending polish of metal that seems almost holy in its necessity. Your hands throb, the skin on your palms wearing away to reveal the tender flesh beneath. And yet there is a grim satisfaction in this work, a small, fleeting triumph when the copper finally gleams with the golden glow that Mistress Holbrook deems acceptable, when the reflection of the fire dances across the polished surface and tells you briefly that you have accomplished something perfectly, if only for a moment. Before midday, the fowl arrive, carried in by the gamekeeper's boy, feathers still clinging to living warmth. Just hours before, and you are thrust into the next stage of labor, the plucking. You take the first bird in your hands, a fat capon, and begin the slow, methodical removal of feathers, one handful at a time, until your fingers are coated in down, the fine, soft fluff irritating your nose and throat, mixing with the sweat and grime that already cling to your skin. Pull and drop, pull and drop, each motion repeated until it becomes a ritual, a cadence learned from survival rather than choice. Your back bent at an angle that sends stabbing pains down your spine, your shoulders locked in an eternal tension that never fully releases. The pile of feathers grows at your feet, a strange, silent snowfall that speaks only to your labor, and you watch the room fill with the smells of the fowl, of the meat and blood and life that has passed into your hands, and you feel a curious mix of revulsion and necessity, knowing that without this work the household would starve. Yet the labor of your hands is invisible, unacknowledged, and essential. The spit is next, a great iron mechanism that now rests squarely on your shoulders, turning and turning over the fire that roars and spits heat against your face and arms. Once, this work belonged to a specially bred turnspit dog, a creature designed to labor in this exact way. But the dog died last winter, leaving you to assume its place. Your hands grip the handle with relentless insistence. The motion circular, eternal, a rhythm imposed by necessity rather than choice. The fire cracks and hisses, the fat from roasting meat sending small sparks into the air, and your skin begins to tighten, eyebrows singeing slightly, lips cracking in the dry heat. Yet you cannot step away. To stop is to risk disaster, to invite the wrath of the cook, to face punishment that could range from a cruel strike to the imposition of yet more labor upon your aching body. Hour upon hour, the meat browns evenly, and you become part of the mechanism, a human cog, turning, sweating, enduring, until the cook pronounces it done. Relief washes briefly over you, only to be replaced by the next task, for the kitchen is a river that never ceases, a current that will pull you from one labor to another without pause or mercy. The women scrubbing the tables is next, the long wooden surfaces scarred by countless knives and the preparation of countless meals, and your hands, already battered, know what is required. You push water and sand across the grain, pressure applied until the surfaces gleam, until the scars of preparation seem momentarily erased, though you know they will return, just as your hands will return to rawness, just as your back will return to ache. The dishes follow, the hauling of water, the endless cleaning, the polishing, the bending, the kneeling, each motion a testament to the unbroken chain of labor that defines your existence. Round you, the kitchen is alive, assistants and boys moving with a practiced fluency, the cook directing and tasting, commanding and adjusting, creating a feast that you will touch, handle, and perfect, yet will never taste. You watch her movements with a mixture of longing and admiration, knowing that she has mastered the skills you may never be permitted to learn, that she commands authority that you can only hope to one day approach. And yet her eyes never linger on you, except to see that you fulfill your role, that your body and hands perform as required, and that you do not falter under her gaze. This time passes in a blur, measured only by tasks completed, and the slow, inexorable fatigue that creeps into every joint and muscle. The fowl are prepared, the tables cleaned, the copper gleams with a perfection that is both temporary and essential. And still there are more chores, more duties, each as grueling as the last. Your body has become a map of your labor. Raw hands, aching back, stiff shoulders, cramped fingers, and yet there is a strange, stubborn pride that rises with each task done well, each ember coaxed back to life, each surface polished until it gleams. In the midst of exhaustion, you understand something profound. This work, grueling, invisible, essential, defines not only your survival, but your identity within the household. You are nothing if not necessary, nothing if not diligent. And though recognition is scarce, the mastery of labor itself becomes a quiet, almost secret form of authority. As the afternoon stretches on, the cycle continues. Water must be hauled again, dishes scrubbed, the remaining fowl readied for evening, surfaces cleaned for the next meal, and your hands, though battered, do not falter. You feel each movement as part of a continuum, a ritual passed down by those who came before, a testament to endurance and resilience. The kitchen itself seems to breathe around you, the crackle of the fire, the hiss of water on metal, the faint thump of heavy footsteps from above, the murmur of assistants and boys moving in practiced unison, and you are at the heart of it, a silent conductor of this orchestrated chaos, ensuring that every meal, every task, every ember falls into its proper place. You scrub, pull, turn, lift, carry, and repeat until the body aches beyond thought, until the mind grows numb in the repetitive rhythm, until the world beyond the kitchen walls feels impossibly distant. And yet, despite the exhaustion, despite the pain, despite the invisibility of your labor, there is a strange, fierce satisfaction in the completion of each task done well, in the proof of your endurance, in the quiet knowledge that without your hands, this household could not function. By evening, when the last bird has been plucked and roasted, when the final surface has been scrubbed and polished, when the water has been hauled and poured again, your body is spent beyond comprehension. But still, you move through the motions, training yourself in endurance, in obedience, in resilience. And though praise is rare, fleeting, and often ambiguous, you hold on to the small victories, the gleam of copper, the fire burning evenly, the tables prepared without fault, as markers of skill and survival in a world that offers so little recognition. The kitchen is a place of toil, of pain, of relentless labor, but within its boundaries, you have learned control, perseverance, and the power of your own hands. And these truths, though unspoken and unseen by the masters above, are yours and yours alone. The hierarchy of this great house is a force as immovable as the stone walls that surround you, a system so rigid that even the air you breathe seems to bend under its weight. You know your place within it, with a clarity born of experience, a knowledge that keeps you alive in a world where a single misstep can mean ruin. At the very top are the Ashworths, the family whose existence feels more like a distant constellation than a reality, their lives elevated far above the reach of your eyes and hands. Lord Ashworth, Lady Ashworth, their children, beings glimpsed perhaps twice in 3 years, their voices filtered through the layers of command until all humanity has been stripped from them. They move in a world of silk and polished wood, a world of warmth and feather-stuffed beds, a world where hunger is an abstract concept and labor is a choice rather than a mandate. Below them, cascading in layers of control and authority, are the upper servants, the steward, the housekeeper, the lady's maid, the valet. These people, dressed almost as finely as their masters, command attention, issue orders, and yet still inhabit a sphere distant enough that their authority is respected but not feared in the same way as the family above. Their world is superior to yours, and the briefest interaction with them reminds you that your existence is peripheral, your name irrelevant, your value measured only in utility. At the bottom, there is you, the scullery maid, one of the smallest and most unseen cogs in this vast machinery, your labor essential yet invisible, your wages a reflection of your position. 3 shillings and 4 pence per year, a sum so small it is almost meaningless, yet enough to mark you as bound to this place. Your life is defined by repetition and a constant reminder that survival itself is the only reward you may claim. The scraps of food you are permitted, edges of bread burned beyond the family's acceptance, grisly meat, vegetables that are too soft or spotted for the table above, must be eaten quickly, standing in a corner because no table or chair is afforded to you. Every meal is a study in efficiency, a reminder that idleness is perilous, that lingering, questioning, or complaint are luxuries you cannot afford. Your body carries the evidence of this life. Hands red, raw, and cracked from constant washing and scrubbing. Back bent from the repetition of tasks. Shoulders stiff and aching. A pain so familiar it is almost comforting in its constancy. These marks, etched into your very flesh, are the seal of your station, the silent testimony to the labor that sustains the household, yet grants you no power, no recognition, no real voice. Yet invisibility, though painful, is also a shield. Most servants treat you as if you were part of the furniture, speaking around you rather than to you, passing without notice. You have learned to accept this, even embrace it, because to be seen often brings danger, the attention of someone higher in the hierarchy, usually signaling a failure or a forthcoming punishment. Within this strict structure, however, there are moments that pierce the relentless monotony. A cook's assistant slitting you an extra scrap of bread when no one watches. A chambermaid gifting a ribbon to be hidden and treasured. A quiet acknowledgement that you exist not just as labor, but as a person capable of thought, feeling, and desire. These small gestures, fragile as they are, become treasures, threads of light in the otherwise oppressive darkness of your station. They remind you that humanity can persist, even at the margins, that even the lowest rung of the household ladder is not entirely without connection, without meaning. Your life is a constant negotiation of danger and endurance. You know which corridors to avoid after dark, which rooms are perilous, which men carry the potential for kindness, and which carry threat. The world outside your station is fraught, but it is also navigable if one learns its rules and respects them. Disease, too, is ever present, a shadow that creeps through the household without warning. You have watched companions succumb to fevers and pestilence, young bodies crumpling under illness, and yet you survive, not through divine favor, but through luck and cautious endurance, a quiet vigilance that keeps you upright and working. In all of this, the seasons impose their own rhythm. Winter brings fires that must be tended with extra care. Spring demands thorough cleaning of every room. Summer's heat transforms the kitchen into a stifling oven where meat spoils quickly. And autumn, while blessed with the abundance of harvest, demands preservation and preparation for the months ahead. Despite the unrelenting labor, despite the invisibility and exhaustion, you find within yourself a measure of resilience that is yours alone. You know the kitchen, the fire, the tools, and the tasks in a way no one else does. A knowledge carved from suffering and repetition. You may never ascend beyond your station, may never sleep in a feather bed, or taste the delicacies of the family above. But within the boundaries of this life, you have mastery over the work itself. This knowledge is both survival and quiet triumph. You endure because you must, but you endure with skill, with precision, and with a stubborn preservation of dignity in the small victories that no one else notices. And as night falls, and the household above retreats to warmth and leisure, you collapse on the rushes in your corner, exhausted beyond measure, yet alive, your body a testament to labor, your mind a repository of quiet endurance, your spirit carrying the fragile hope that tomorrow you will rise again, perform again, survive again, and perhaps, in some distant future, find a measure of reward or recognition that is still beyond your reach, but not beyond your imagination. The future stretches before you like a road swallowed by fog, uncertain and frightening, a path so obscured by labor, exhaustion, and the rigid rules of the household that even imagining it fully feels almost impossible. You try not to think too often of what may come, because thoughts of freedom or escape bring only a sharp sting of despair. Yet, in the quiet moments before sleep claims you, when the household above has retired and the kitchen falls into a tense stillness, broken only by the settling of the walls or the faint scurry of mice, your mind allows itself brief wandering. You imagine what life might be if this endless toil were lifted, if the chains of invisibility and exhaustion were broken. Perhaps you might rise within the household, a cook's assistant first, then a cook, a woman with authority over others who now share your fate, a woman with a bed of her own in a room that is warm and private rather than a corner of the kitchen floor. Such a dream, modest as it is, glimmers with a brightness so impossible it nearly hurts to consider. It is fragile, yet it is enough to give you something to hold on to as your hands work ceaselessly and your back aches from the repetition of labor that will never end. Marriage, too, appears in your dreams as both hope and caution. You have seen the lives of women like your mother, endless childbearing, endless work, and an early grave, and you wonder if any man could provide a life of security or gentleness that would not simply replace one form of labor with another. The men of the household are a threat as much as they are authority. Foot is known from the side of the words, so contented and feeble things, brilliant and were-spirit. You have learned which corridors to avoid after dark, which faces signal danger, which spaces provide a measure of safety. So far, by careful attention and luck, you have escaped the worst of what such men can do. But you know of others who have not been so fortunate. Girls dismissed silently when their bellies swelled. Lives disappeared into the harsh world outside Thornbury Hall. The constant presence of disease, too, haunts you. The sweating sickness 3 summers past claimed lives with brutal indifference, and you survived only through luck and vigilance. No prayers more powerful than those of others who perished. Death hovers at the edges of your life, a reminder that your fragile body and fleeting health are your own responsibility, a threat as constant as the labor itself. The seasons turn inexorably around you, not marked by beauty, but by the changing work required of your body. Winter brings the bitter cold, demanding fires that must be coaxed to life and tended continuously. The floors scrubbed, water hauled, meals prepared with care against the chill. Spring arrives with the long, grueling cleaning of every corner of the household, dust and grime carried away only to be replaced by new labor. Summer is suffocating heat, flies buzzing, meat spoiling if not carefully watched. Autumn, while more forgiving, arrives with the monumental task of preserving food for the winter months, salting meat, pickling vegetables, preparing the household to survive the cold months ahead. Each season is a marker of toil. Each day a repetition of the tasks you know by muscle memory, by the ache in your hands and back, by the instinctive rhythms of scraping, washing, hauling, and turning. After 3 years, you are no longer the frightened child who arrived with nothing but a bundle of clothes and terror in your chest. You are something harder now, forged in the heat of hearts, in the rhythm of labor, in the silence of invisibility. You have learned endurance, precision, and the subtle art of surviving in a world that never intended you to survive. The great house rises above you, 4 stories of wealth, of warmth, of life that will never include you. Yet you are a part of it, an invisible gear without which the machinery would fail. Your labor sustains the lives of others, but it brings you no reward, only the bare necessities to survive. You rise again at 4 o'clock, haul water, scrub copper, pluck fowl, turn the spit, collapse on the rushes, and dream. You dream of a life that could have been different, of warmth and rest, not earned but given, of recognition and dignity that the world seems to reserve for others. And though these dreams may vanish with the morning light, they persist in small, fragile ways, carrying hope through your exhaustion, through the pain, and through the unrelenting cycles of this life. You are a scullery maid in a great house in England, in the year of our Lord 1593, and this is your life, the only life you have, and you will endure it with whatever scraps of dignity, courage, and hope you can salvage from the wreckage of endless labor.